The worst part wasn't finding my dad's body on Christmas morning. The worst part was realizing he'd been trying to climb out of the chimney, not down into it. I need to tell someone what happened at my family's house last Christmas. The police have their report. The news had their story for a week. But nobody knows what really went on that night. Nobody except me. My name is Jake, and I'm 23 years old. I live in a small town in Pennsylvania called Millbrook. Population maybe 3,000 people. The kind of place where everyone knows everyone and nothing interesting ever happens. At least, that's what I thought. Last year, I was living in Philadelphia, working at a warehouse job I hated. When my mom called in early December and asked if I'd come home for Christmas, I said yes without thinking twice. I hadn't been home in almost 2 years. My little sister Emma was going to be there too. She was 19 and in her second year of college. My parents still lived in the same house I grew up in. It was built in 1887, which my dad loved to tell people. He was proud of that house. 3 stories, old wooden floors that creaked, a basement that always smelled like dirt and mold, and a brick chimney that ran through the center of the whole place. I got home on December 23rd. Mom had the place decorated like something out of a magazine. Lights everywhere, a huge tree in the living room, fake snow spray on the windows. Dad was in the garage like always, tinkering with something. Emma wasn't arriving until Christmas Eve. That first night was normal. We had dinner, watched TV, caught up on 2 years of life. Mom told me about her new job at the library. Dad complained about his back and how he needed to retire soon. Regular family stuff. December 24th, Emma showed up around noon. She'd driven from Pittsburgh where she went to school. She looked different. Older, I guess. She dyed her hair black and had a nose ring now. Mom wasn't thrilled about that, but she didn't say anything. It was Christmas. We spent the afternoon doing family things, baking cookies, watching old Christmas movies. Emma and I played video games in the basement like we did when we were kids. Everything felt good, safe, normal. Around 6 p.m. we had dinner. Mom made ham and all the sides. Too much food, like always. We were stuffed. After dinner, Dad built a fire in the fireplace. We sat around it, drinking hot chocolate, talking and laughing. That's when we heard the first noise. It came from above us, from inside the walls. A scraping sound like something was moving in there. We all stopped talking and looked up at the ceiling. Probably a squirrel, Dad said. I'll check the attic tomorrow. But it didn't sound like a squirrel. It sounded heavier, slower, more deliberate. The sound stopped after a minute. We tried to go back to talking, but the mood was different now. Mom looked nervous. Emma kept glancing at the ceiling. Around 9 p.m., Mom said she was tired and went to bed. Dad stayed up a bit longer, but he was falling asleep in his chair. Emma and I decided to stay up and watch a movie. Dad said goodnight and headed upstairs. The house had 3 floors. The main floor had the living room, kitchen, dining room, and a bathroom. The second floor had 3 bedrooms and another bathroom. The third floor was basically an attic that had been converted into storage space. Nobody went up there much anymore. Emma picked some horror movie on Netflix. I can't even remember what it was called now. We weren't really watching it anyway. We were talking, catching up properly. She told me about college, about a guy she was dating, about how she was thinking of changing her major. That's when the scraping sound started again. This time it was louder, and it was definitely coming from the chimney. The fireplace was on the north wall of the living room. The chimney went straight up through all 3 floors and out the roof. When we were kids, Dad told us Santa came down that chimney. Later, he told us birds sometimes nested in there during spring. But this wasn't a bird. Emma grabbed my arm. "What is that?" I don't know, I said. The scraping continued. It sounded like something was moving down the chimney. Slowly, inch by inch. We could hear brick dust falling into the fireplace. The fire had burned down to just embers by then. Should we get Dad? Emma whispered. Before I could answer, the scraping stopped. We sat there in silence for probably 5 minutes. Neither of us moved. We just stared at the fireplace, waiting. Nothing happened. Maybe it left, Emma said. Yeah, I said. But I didn't believe it. We tried to keep watching the movie, but every little sound made us jump. The house settling, the furnace kicking on. Everything sounded threatening now. Around midnight, Emma said she was going to bed. I told her I'd stay up a bit longer. Honestly, I was too wired to sleep. My brain kept trying to figure out what had been in the chimney. A raccoon, a bird, maybe some bricks had just come loose. I sat there in the dark living room with just the TV light flickering. The movie had ended. Now some true crime show was on autoplay. I wasn't watching it. That's when I heard footsteps on the second floor. Heavy footsteps, walking slowly down the hallway. They stopped outside my parents' bedroom door. I held my breath. Then I heard my dad's voice. Muffled, but definitely him. He sounded confused, like he was asking a question. Then I heard my mom scream. I jumped off the couch and ran for the stairs. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. I took the steps 2 at a time. The hallway upstairs was dark, except for a light coming from under my parents' door. I ran to it and grabbed the handle. It was locked. "Dad!" I shouted. "Mom!" I heard more shouting from inside. My dad was yelling now. Then a loud crash like furniture tipping over. I slammed my shoulder into the door. Once, twice. On the third hit, it burst open. The scene inside didn't make sense at first. My dad was standing in the middle of the room in his pajamas. His face was covered in soot. Black streaks down his cheeks and neck. His hands were black too. He was staring at something in the corner of the room. My mom was pressed against the far wall, her hand over her mouth, eyes wide. I looked where Dad was looking. There was an opening in the wall, not a door or a window, an actual hole, about 2 feet wide where the chimney ran through the bedroom. Bricks were scattered on the floor, dust everywhere. And in that hole, I saw a hand, a human hand, gray-skinned, fingers too long, nails black with grime. It was reaching out from inside the chimney. "What the fuck?" I said. The hand withdrew back into the darkness. We heard that scraping sound again. Something moving inside the chimney. Going up now, not down. Dad just stood there, frozen. There was blood on his pajama shirt. "Dad," I said, "are you hurt?" He looked down at his shirt like he'd forgotten it was there. I don't know. I don't think so." Emma appeared in the doorway behind me. "What's happening?" "Call 911, I told her. She pulled out her phone with shaking hands. Mom finally moved. She ran to Dad and grabbed him, checking him for injuries. Blood on his shirt wasn't his. At least we couldn't find any wounds on him. Dad started talking, his voice shaky. I woke up and felt cold air. I thought the window was open, but then I heard something in the wall. Right there, where the chimney is. Scratching. I got up to investigate and the bricks just fell out. Something pushed them from inside. And then that hand reached out and grabbed my shirt and pulled me toward the hole. I fought it. I punched it. That's when your mother woke up and screamed. Emma was on the phone with the 911 operator. "Yes, there's someone in our house, in the walls, in the chimney. I don't know. Just send someone." We all backed out of the bedroom into the hallway. Dad pulled the door shut. We stood there, all 4 of us, breathing hard, trying to process what had just happened. Did you see its face? I asked Dad. No, he said, just the hand. It was strong, really strong. We heard the scraping again. It was moving up the chimney toward the third floor. It's going to the attic, Emma said. The third floor. The attic. There was only one way up there, a pull-down ladder in the second floor hallway ceiling. I looked up at it now. The little string that you pulled to release the ladder was swaying slightly. Someone had been up there. The police arrived 15 minutes later. It felt like hours. We all stayed downstairs in the living room, huddled together. We didn't hear any more sounds from the chimney during that time. Just silence, which was somehow worse. 2 officers showed up first. Young guys, probably mid-20s. They looked at us like we were crazy when we tried to explain what happened. Someone broke into your house through the chimney, one of them said. Not broke in, Dad said. They were already inside, in the chimney itself. The officers exchanged a look. They went upstairs to investigate. We heard them walking around, opening doors. One of them pulled down the attic ladder and went up there. They came back down 10 minutes later. We checked every room, the first officer said. The attic, all the bedrooms, bathrooms, closets. There's nobody here. We found the hole in your bedroom wall, but we didn't find any person or animal. Check the chimney, I said. The chimney? Yes, they were inside the chimney, going up and down through the house. The second officer looked at the fireplace in the living room. Sir, that chimney is maybe 1 foot wide. A person couldn't fit in there. We know what we saw, Mom said quietly. They took our statements, looked at the blood on Dad's pajamas, examined the hole in the bedroom wall. One of them climbed onto the roof to check the chimney from above. He came back down and said the chimney was capped and intact. Nothing could have gotten in from the top. They basically told us we'd probably heard an animal, a raccoon or maybe even a cat. And in the dark and confusion, we'd misidentified what we saw. They said Dad must have cut himself somehow and didn't realize it, and the hand was probably just a trick of shadows and fear. We'll file a report, they said, but there's no one in your house now. You're safe. Maybe call an exterminator in the morning if you're still hearing noises. They left around 2 a.m. We didn't sleep. We sat in the living room with all the lights on. Dad had grabbed a hammer from the garage. I had a baseball bat. We just waited. Mom tried to rationalize it. Maybe they're right. Maybe it was an animal. It was dark. We were scared. We could have seen it wrong. But we all knew better. Around 4 a.m., Emma went to the bathroom. She was gone for maybe 2 minutes. When she came back, her face was white. The attic ladder is down, she said. We all looked up. Sure enough, the ladder that led to the third floor was fully extended now. The opening to the attic was a black square in the ceiling. None of us had pulled it down. Fuck this, I said. I grabbed my phone. We're leaving. We'll go to a hotel until daylight. Then we'll figure this out. Everyone agreed immediately. We didn't pack. We just headed for the front door. That's when we heard it. A voice. Coming from the second floor. From my parents' bedroom. It sounded like my dad's voice, but my dad was standing right next to me. Help me, the voice said. Please help me, I'm stuck. We all froze. The voice came again. I'm in the chimney. I can't get out. Please. Emma started crying. Mom grabbed her and held her close. What the fuck is that? I whispered. Dad's face was hard, angry. I don't know, but we're leaving. Right now. We moved toward the door, but before we could open it, we heard footsteps running down the stairs. Fast. Too fast. Something came around the corner from the stairway into the living room. I'll never forget what I saw. It looked like a person, sort of. It had arms and legs and a head, but everything was wrong. It was too thin. Its limbs were too long. It was covered in soot and grime, and what looked like old cobwebs and dead insects. Its skin was gray. Its eyes were completely black, like they were all pupil, no white at all. And it was smiling. It opened its mouth and my dad's voice came out. "Merry Christmas," it said. Emma screamed. We all ran. Dad yanked the front door open, and we poured out into the cold December night. We ran to the car parked in the driveway. Dad fumbled with the keys. His hands were shaking so bad he dropped them. I looked back at the house. The thing was standing in the doorway, watching us, still smiling. It didn't follow us. It just stood there. Dad got the car unlocked. We jumped in. He started the engine and we peeled out of there, tires squealing. We drove to the police station. We told them everything. They sent officers back to the house. They found nothing. No creature. No evidence anyone had been there except us. The front door was closed and locked. The hole in the bedroom wall was there, but that was it. They thought we were on drugs or having some kind of shared psychological episode. They were polite about it, but we could tell they didn't believe us. When the sun came up, we went back to the house with the police. In the daylight, with 6 officers there, it felt safer. We went inside carefully. Everything looked normal, undisturbed, like nothing had happened, except the hole in the bedroom wall. And one other thing. There were footprints on the hearth of the fireplace, black, sooty footprints, coming out of the fireplace, not going in. And they weren't human-shaped. The toes were too long. There were only 4 of them on each foot. The police took pictures. They investigated more. They brought in specialists to examine the chimney. They used cameras to look inside it from the roof. The chimney was empty. Just bricks and old soot and bird nests from years ago. No way anything could be living in there. No room for anything bigger than a rat. But those footprints were real. Everyone saw them. The story hit the local news. Christmas home invasion, they called it. But as the days went on and no more evidence appeared, it became Local Family Reports, Strange Christmas Eve Experience. Then it disappeared from the news entirely. We never went back to that house. My parents sold it in February. They took a huge loss just to get rid of it. Some investor bought it. I heard he gutted it and turned it into apartments. Nobody else has reported anything strange there since. We don't talk about it much. Mom doesn't talk about it at all. She pretends it didn't happen. Dad sees a therapist. Emma dropped out of college for a semester, but she's back now. She's doing okay. Me? I moved to California, as far from that house as I could get while staying in the United States. But sometimes, late at night, I hear scraping sounds in the walls of my apartment. And I know it's just pipes or the building settling or regular city noises. At least, that's what I tell myself. Because the thing is, I've been researching. Old newspapers, town records, history of that house. 6 families lived in that house before us, going back to 1887 when it was built. 3 of those families left suddenly, sold the house quickly. No explanation given. In 1923, a man died in that house. His name was Robert Klein. He was a chimney sweep. The newspaper said he fell from the roof while working and broke his neck. But I found the coroner's report in the town archives. Robert Klein didn't die from a fall. His neck was broken, but he also had severe compression injuries to his entire body, like he'd been crushed. The coroner noted that the injuries were consistent with being wedged in a very tight space for an extended period. They found him in the basement, but there was soot in his lungs, brick dust in his hair, under his fingernails. The report includes one line that nobody could explain. Deceased's body was in advanced state of decomposition, inconsistent with time of death. Estimated death occurred 7 to 10 days prior to discovery, but family reports seeing deceased 24 hours before body found. I think Robert Klein got stuck in that chimney. I think he died there, wedged between those bricks, trying to get out. And I think something happened to him while he was in there. Something changed him. The darkness, the confined space, the slow death. I think he's still in there, in those bricks, in that chimney. Not as a ghost, but as something else. Something that learned how to move through the spaces between the walls. Something that waits for Christmas. Because every incident I found, every strange occurrence, every family that left suddenly, they all happened in late December. I don't know what Robert Klein became. I don't know if he's aware of what he's doing or if he's just acting on instinct. Some horrible echo of trying to escape that chimney forever. But I know what I saw. We all saw it, and I know that house should be torn down. The chimney should be demolished. The bricks should be scattered. But it won't be, because nobody believes us. And that investor is making money on his apartments. And the new tenants don't know the history. Maybe they'll never have a problem. Maybe Robert Klein only comes out every few decades. Or maybe only for certain families. Or maybe they'll wake up one Christmas Eve and hear scraping in their walls. I hope they run faster than we did. I hope they don't wait to see what comes out of the chimney. Because the worst part, the part I haven't told anyone until now, is what I saw when we drove away that night. I looked back at the house one more time before we turned the corner, and I saw something in Emma's bedroom window on the second floor. It was the thing, standing there, watching us leave, and it was waving, not threatening, not aggressive, just waving goodbye, like it was sad to see us go, like it had enjoyed having a family in the house again. That's what scares me most. Not that it was violent or evil, but that it was lonely, and that maybe next Christmas it'll find another family to visit. So if you live in an old house with a brick chimney and you hear scraping sounds on Christmas Eve, please, don't investigate, don't look, just leave. Some things should stay in the walls, some chimneys should stay empty, and some Christmas visitors should never be let in. If this story gave you chills, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Drop a comment and tell me, what's the scariest thing that's ever happened to you at Christmas? And if you made it to the end, just comment chimney below. Stay safe out there.